Hey, if I sound a little weird, it's because I've been sick, hence why I've also not been able to work on videos recently. However, I should be good soon, I think. However, while I've been sick, I've been passing time by painting models, and right before I got sick, I picked up some of the D&D Prismatic paints. I picked up, we got D&D Prismatic Paint Silver, and D&D Prismatic Paint Goblin Green. I've been using these paints for a little while now, and I gotta admit, they seemed shockingly similar, strikingly similar to other paints I have used in the past. I was using these paints, and I'm like, damn, these are really similar. These are really similar to other paints I've used in the past, but I can't put my finger on it, right? And I realized, I looked on the bottle. I don't know if you can read that. Yep. Vallejo. They're Vallejo paints. Not only are they Vallejo paints, let's do a few comparisons. So, obviously, here we have D&D Prismatic Paint Silver. It has 8 milliliters of paint in it. And this is the equivalent to from Games Workshop, kind of be Stormhost Silver, but doesn't really matter because we're comparing measurements here, and this holds 12 milliliters. So already it is less paint per pot than the Games Workshop equivalent, but that's fine. That's fine because they are significantly cheaper. This is only like 220. This is only 220. But again, we'll get back to that. The fact that it is quote unquote only 220 will actually be relevant later. And if we look on this bottle of Vallejo Game Color Goblin Green, which I have the Prismatic Paints equivalent of, and we'll be running some tests on them later, you can see that it has 17 milliliters. That's significantly more than either of them. And here's the real kicker: these aren't that much less expensive. These D&D prismatic paints are being sold at a retail cost of around like 280, I think, actually. Yeah, I think they're being sold at $2.80 a bottle. So roughly $3 a bottle. However, that is literally the same price as their Vallejo equivalents in these sized bottles. It's just Vallejo, but more expensive and with the word D&D on it. But maybe not, right? Maybe they are different paints. So, I'm shaking up my Vallejo Game Color Goblin Green, and we are going to do some tests with the Prismatic Paints Goblin Green, because I don't have Vallejo Silver on hand. First, we pour in Goblin Green from the Game Color Goblin Green. And I see the pigment is still... Oh, God. Yeah, the pigment is still slightly separated on the palette, so we're just going to mix it up with our brush. There we go. Sorry. I was trying to find a clean brush. So we'll mix it up just to give it a fair shake. Immediately out of the box, it is incredibly thin. It is incredibly thin out of the box, and look at that. That is a nice viscosity. That's a nice goopiness. Might want to thin it down with a little bit of water, but overall, not bad at all. Then we look at the D&D Prismatic Paints Goblin Green. So immediately you might start to see the issue, but we'll keep going with it for, argument's sake. Mix. Okay. So we just paint that on like that. Now, obviously, this is not the most objective test in the world. They're not an exact color match, but they're pretty fucking close. So this one is Vallejo Game Color Goblin Green. This one is Prismatic Paints Goblin Green. And they're very similar in tone. They're very similar in color. In fact, under certain lighting conditions, it's very hard to tell the difference between them. In fact, I would argue they are, in fact, more similar than not. Almost identical. And this has just over half of the amount of paint per pot as this, despite being sold at the exact same price, looking that similar, being manufactured by the same company. They're both manufactured by Vallejo. They, I think, are just licensed by Wizards of the Coast, by WizKids, is the official name of the company. And it's just kind of silly to me because I haven't seen a lot of talk online about prismatic paints because of the whole OGL situation. But I just find it really funny that on top of everything else going on with the OGL, they're also, you know, just repackaging Vallejo paints into much smaller containers being sold at a much more expensive price if you measure it on a dollars per milliliter scale, right? And I just found that really funny. Fucking hell.